played a lot of snaps on defense. Special teams got back to who they really are. And offensively, not our best performance, way too much of a struggle today, but to find a way to score some points to help our team win. I think it speaks to the mental toughness of those guys in that locker room. We can do a lot of things as coaches better to help our guys, but I'm really, really proud to be 5-1 right now.
Welcome back to another edition of Enough Said. My name is Dan Barreiro, joined as always by Justin Gaard. And it's Natalie Brinegar because my sources say Lori Fisher is protesting the outcome of the Emmy Award.
Yeah, we didn't win.
Midwest Emmy Award results.
You guys deserved it.
Indicate ononce again that we're
never going to win.
Susan Lucci-like.
Well, I don't think it's
She's
a protest.
She's not taking it well.
Does that mean am I an Emmy winner? Is that what she's saying?
That's possible. Maybe you could be the difference. Maybe that's the message here.
I don't know about that.
I don't think it's a protest as much as she's sick of working with losers. I think that's what she's telling us.
That's why I try to
Lori
tell
is
her.
a winner.
Make a big deal of it.
She wants to win. Yeah.
Let's make only a bigger production of it when we win.
That'll never happen.
Which probably will never happen. You're exactly
But thanks for being here, Natalie.
You're welcome. All right, let's get to it. The Vikings now on a bye week, and they're going into it with a good record, 5 wins in their first 6 games. So the question is, do you think they can keep this up?
Well, they do get, as you say, the weekend off, and it gives you a chance to sort of see what else is out there in the league. I feel like I'm repeating myself, and I'll leave the cheerleading to the Vikings lickspittle of Justin Gaard here in a minute.
I'll get there, yeah.
But the Vikings can't help that they're playing largely through this winning streak, flawed or injured or both teams. But I can't help it if I notice that that's who they're beating, if you're asking me to say, are we ready to make the big push? I still don't think we've played well enough. We've not played well at all against the only really good team that we played. Maybe nobody's going to be able to beat the Eagles. I don't know. But I can't deny that, as you heard in that clip from Kevin O'Connell, they have figured out, it appears, a formula about how to finish strong, no matter how much they might cough and sputter and wheeze in the possessions leading up to the big drive that they need or the big stop that they need.
They're playing well in the margins. Before half, last couple minutes, right? I don't think anybody's better. I think they're top 3 or 4 in the NFL when it comes to scoring. There's Dalvin to basically end this game right here after they got that critical turnover. You know, people forget that fumble. They're only up 16-10 at that point. Right. A touchdown and an extra point actually beats them. But let me throw it back to you quickly on a question of making the big push. Define that. What does that mean? Like Super Bowl, NFC Championship game? Does it mean deep run in the playoffs? What does it mean in terms of deep push?
For me, it's deep run in the playoffs. I look at the plateau, and I get it. The NFC, you could say, well, it's very flawed. I would put, for the moment, 3 teams on the top plateau. The Eagles. The Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
And you could say, well, that's not bad if you're in the next plateau.
And that's one team in the NFC that you're talking about.
That's true. But I will say again, I've said before, I have to admit, I've stayed way too high on the Packers. I've given them too much credit on equity. But look at the big move that the 49ers made. As bad as they looked last week, they add McCaffrey, a great running back. To a team that I think at the end is going to be there. I still trust them more than us. Sorry. And I might trust the Dallas Cowboys a little bit more than us as well. So I get it. I mean, they're doing what you're asking them to do, which is win. We didn't win enough games last year.
Right.
But I still can't, if I'm being honest, say I really see a powerhouse here. And Kirk Cousins,
30 seconds.
Look at the frustration he had, Justin, regarding his performance or the offense's performance. Under Zim, in a different circumstance, people would be all over that.
They would be.
Say, what's going on?
When he came off the field all mad, but what did Kevin O'Connell do? Calmed him down.
Enough said.
Got him to the tablet. I'm just glad that with the 5-1 record, all those games that we talked about when the schedule gets meaty, I'm glad the Vikings are doing their part to make those meaningful games, whether it is Dallas, both New York teams, but I think the Giants probably have a little bit more sustainability than do the Jets. As those games approach, they're actually going to mean something and might have huge ramifications for if they're hosting a playoff game. So, I'll be the lick spittle, as Dan would say, until proven otherwise.
We are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we can avoid the playoffs. And that is a good bounce back. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, the Timberwolves' regular season is officially underway, and it's off to a solid start. The Wolves beating Oklahoma City at home. Rudy Gobert seems to be fitting right in. So is this a sign of how things could go this season?
Here's my question to you, Dan. Should we feel guilty that we fleeced the Utah Jazz by only sending them how many players? 4 players and 5 picks, or 5 players and 4 picks? After Rudy's performance on Wednesday night, I'm starting to think we should send them another unprotected first. I don't think we gave him enough. He was the reason they won the game, right? 100%. No one else.
Question.
No one else. I mean, D'Lo played well. He made some nice plays down the stretch,
and McDaniels had nice offensive numbers.
Yes, he did. And they had that weird third quarter where they go up 16 and then just shut it down basically for the rest of the quarter. When who comes to the rescue? Right at the third quarter buzzer, Rudy Gobert with a steal and a floater from like 19 feet. He was tremendous. Obviously, the fact that they have this easy schedule in the first 7 or 8 games, I think is going to be helpful to them, because it's clear they obviously don't have everything figured out. They couldn't rebound on Wednesday night. They had very little interest in solid defense when Rudy wasn't out there on Wednesday night. And they've got to figure out how all the pieces fit together offensively. But on the Rudy part, if you're Tim Conley and you're Chris Finch, you go, you see why we wanted him? You look around, see why we were so bullish on getting this guy here? Because he was absolutely masterful on Wednesday.
You were there,
yes.
and I watched from the Barca, and I couldn't agree with you more. What I really appreciated, and look, Rudy, I don't think can be the offensive focused to the degree he ended up being at times, but I also think it all depends on games, what the best teams do is they do whatever they need to do to win. Whatever advantages the other team's weaknesses afford, you go after that. And so some nights he's going to get dunks, and you don't turn that down. Cat was outstanding with his vision.
Yes.
I do think the challenge is going to be with Anthony Edwards more than Cat, the more I think about it, because he's a wing player, suddenly looking, and for the first time in his career, playing with 2 big men.
Right. People down in his space.
Exactly.
Yep.
He's got to figure that out, which I think he can. But Rudy, more than anything, beyond his production, I just liked how adult he was.
Yeah.
He just went about his business with great composure, great professionalism. And guess what? That's going to help this team too, because we all know Cat, he can unravel.
We saw it on Wednesday.
Saw it then.
Yeah.
And I think being around that a little bit, I'm hoping that's going to have some impact on him. All of the things that we hoped that you could get out of this particular player, I think they were on display that first night, admittedly against a team that has no real center.
It was tense when he went down, though. Man,
yes.
I mean, when he knocked knees,
yes.
That was
You're thinking there's the curse
moment.
The
it's
Timberwolves
over.
curse.
We haven't even gotten through one game. It was scary. And what an ovation when he just hopped up and said, I'm good. I'm good. It just knocked knees. We're good.
Made no production of anything that he did.
That's
just did it.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing.
Okay, it took 4 games, but the Wild are finally able to get their first win of the season, beating Vancouver in overtime. They lost the last 3, so are they turning things around, or is it too soon to tell? What do you think?
Well, it wasn't that the team had lost the first 3.
Right.
I think it was the way they lost that had people concerned that, there's more about this that might be long-term. And I'm not sure that one victory necessarily takes away all of those fears. The goaltending eventually in this game was better. Fleury was definitely better than he has been. I still think the concern is, have you made a mistake that you're going to regret for basically turning over the goaltending to a Hall of Famer, no doubt, but a guy who's at the end of his career and who you really don't want playing 55 games. You don't at this point. And the backup looked shaky the only time we've seen him. He's going to get a chance again to figure the thing out. But I'm not going to lie to you. The hockey people I trust went into this season with great trepidation about that, really more than the loss of
Kevin Fiala.
Yep. And I'm still a little bit concerned about that too, whether we've made a pact with the devil and we're going to regret the decision to move. Now, Talbot's hurt, as it turns out. But the fact is, I liked this team to be better defensively than it was a year ago, a lot more, if you have the option of 2 legitimate goaltenders, and on any given week or period of weeks, you can go from one to the other. And I don't think necessarily and you can figure one of them is going to be up to the challenge.
Well, and even if you had just the one, would it have been better with Talbot? I mean, that was the choice, right? I mean, with how they kind of mismanaged things last year in the postseason, we talked about it a lot on this show. I got the move bringing in Marc-Andre Fleury at the trade deadline. At that point, Talbot was not playing that well. Then he went on to play great and probably deserved the net in the postseason. We know how that shook out. And then that two-goalie system was just not manageable, obviously, because Talbot wanted to go. We said it at the time. I worried it was going to be an overplay, and obviously there's, 78 games left. They can figure it out. But you just look at this start at the X, 4 home games at the X. You get 2 points out of those 4. That's not ideal, especially when you think about, I looked it up before the show, 31-8, 21-5. That was the Wild's home record the last 2 seasons. Yeah. This has been a place where it's almost been automatic that you're going to get at least 1 point, and they scuffled their way through this first week of the season.
And we got to play better. It's simple. We all have to play better. Last week we just didn't play as well defensively, and offensively we didn't have a lot of opportunities, but you got to take advantage of the opportunities, and especially in a game like that where people have very similar philosophies. We got to play better.
The Gopher football team has lost the last 2 games, and now they may be without their veteran quarterback. Tanner Morgan was knocked out of the game against Illinois, and up next they're playing Penn State Saturday. Both teams have uncertainty at quarterback.
There is uncertainty, and there's more than uncertainty as it pertains to the Gophers and the dream of winning the Big Ten West. They're probably done. I don't want to say there's no chance because I trust almost no team in this division enough to say that they couldn't. One of the teams that are ahead of them couldn't, semi-collapse. But let's face it. I mean, you wanted to avoid a position where you absolutely needed to win the Penn State game.
Right.
If you win the last 2, you're in great shape.
Yep.
If you even split the last 2, you're in still, I think, pretty decent shape to give yourself a shot. Now you basically have to win, and it still might not matter. And I got to say, I'm a little concerned about your quarterback. I hope he's healthy. Obviously, that's the most important thing. But I thought he got completely outplayed last week. I looked up the college QBR rankings, and for whatever that's worth, there are 6 Big Ten quarterbacks ahead of Tanner Morgan. And I think he's like 60th in the country. That was not a good performance at all. The defense, there were other issues, but 6 years in, I think we're learning that it wasn't necessarily just about bringing back the coordinator that he loved in the past, because they had absolutely nothing going. On a day where they did get something going on the ground game, to me, there's no excuse for the paltry production he gave in the past.
Well, with Tanner, I equate him like I do with Cousins. He's not going to be an elevator. He's not going to be a guy that just wins you games on his own. He's just not, no matter, he could be here for another 10 years and he's never going to be that. He is the quote unquote system quarterback, and he didn't play well, and he has to play better. And he's in that habit now of where the feet get going all over the place, right, when he feels a little bit of pressure, and then the ball's just a little bit off. We saw it on the interception. We saw it on another third down drop that probably got there a little bit late when Brevin Spanford could have picked up a first down. But that's, regardless of Saturday or the rest of the season, they have to figure out a way to get the passing game going. There's the throw I'm talking about right there. It's off of his back foot. There's 3 guys there. Receiver doesn't really go up for it.
30.
It's an interception. At that point, the game is 7-0. What's disappointing about it is there's a scenario where they could, let's say, go 8-4 or 9-3, have both the pig and the axe by beating Wisconsin and Iowa, which they haven't done in the same year in forever. And you could still feel like it would be a
missed
disappointment because of those are not the usual suspects in the West are not there this year. Right now, it's Illinois to lose. They looked tremendous. You know how I feel about Bielema, and that's where it'd be an interesting situation at the end of the season if all those things. But they have to play better offensively, specifically in the passing
We talked
game.
about this for a week. This was a year to win the. Sooner or later, you do have to win the division if you're going to take the next step. And I think on Tanner, the issue is he is what he is. But then I think for a lot of people, it's like you're going to invest 6 years in a guy where that's the ceiling. And does that indicate there's going to have to be an upgrade at some point at the quarterback position?
Enough said. A controversy on the U of M Regents Board. Last week, Vice Chair Steve Swigum asking whether too much diversity is holding down enrollment at the U of M Morris campus. Now, this led to calls for his resignation, and now he's apologizing.
I want to read a quote. This was after his apology, which a lot of people were accepting as better than the standard apology. It seemed like there was a little bit more substance to it.
Right.
Then he had an interview where he said, if the far left doesn't ruin it, identity politics will. The woke community, the liberal community, if I may be so bold as to say, has taken my question and jumped on it. To which I would reply, don't give them an opening the size of Lake Minnetonka. And if that's how you really feel, don't bother. Don't insult people with the apology.
Right.
Because to me, you've just nullified and negated the apology after saying something that, at best, was about as clumsy as you could speak about this particular issue, and at worst was absolutely racist, maybe xenophobic, and a whole lot of other things. It's like, if you don't want this to be about identity politics, what's more identity politics driven than almost making it seem like there's the other, those other individuals who are out there who are of color or from out of the country, whatever the case may be. Complete fail. You're not going to have any meaningful discussion on enrollment decline, which is going on there, if that's how you're going to frame it. You are asking to get destroyed. You are almost demanding that people call for your resignation when you are on the Board of Regents at the University of Minnesota. Not to mention the students.
Well,
how do the students feel about this? What are you saying about me? I'm trying to go to school there.
That's all that they're trying to do. And even the student president there at Morris, who was, I thought, gracious enough to invite Sviggum there, what is he thinking now? As an American Indian, I think represents almost 50% of the population there, if not more. What are they thinking? And Myron Metcalf wrote a great column on that in the Star Tribune as well, saying you've basically told everybody that's not white it's a problem if you're on one of our campuses. And that's what I'm usually not Pitchfork Nation. As you know, Dan, I'm a little bit more slower to go, and I'm willing to kind of listen. But on this one, it's like, and I know he's only got another year left, but if I'm on that board of regents, I'm also looking around and going, is this really what we want our institutions, not just here in the Twin Cities, but all over, the whole Minnesota system? Is this what we want to say? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Enough said. Now, the first and only televised debate in the heated race to lead Minnesota brought some memorable lines. Governor Tim Walz and Walz-Jensen butting heads as they discussed crime, abortion, and the Feeding Our Future fraud scandal.
They did, and nobody saw it because it was, in fact, you could stream it.
You could.
But I was told, like, for the first half hour of it, or 45 minutes of it, however long it went, the sound wasn't working.
Oh.
I listened to a few minutes of it when I figured it out. And, we've talked about this before. It's embarrassing that that's the trend, not just here, but nationally. The governor has blown it in that particular regard. But I will ask you, I'm confused I'm reached a point with Walz-Jensen that I think authorities are going to have to check his bank account after this election, because if I didn't know any better, I'd say he's trying to throw the election to the governor.
Right.
It's hilarious. He thinks he's trying to challenge him. The latest stupidity about questioning the governor's service is so ludicrous and such a loser that I'm left with no other conclusion that he must just not want to even think about winning.
Right.
And maybe that somebody has paid him off. I don't know. It's bizarre to me. This is not. If I were advising Walz-Jensen, and I'm not sure he's asking for my advice, I would say economy, crime, feeding our future.
Yeah.
Lather, rinse, repeat. Stay on form. Those are legitimate issues, vulnerable issues for the governor, but he keeps straying off into this nonsense that is in which he has no chance to gain any traction.
Well, I'll remind you, we were saying the same things about then candidate President Trump in 2016, though. We were saying, and people were going, I don't think he really wants to win. But now he's going to. So I worry about that. Please, to all moderators, let's stop to say something nice about your opposition.
All right, here we go. Time for lightning round. The Gopher men's basketball team has landed its highest-ranked recruit in nearly 2 decades. Dennis Evans is going to be a Gopher. He had offers from Kansas and TCU.
Garza, you take this one. This is your guy. This is a big moment for Ben Johnson.
This is big. Yeah, it's very momentous. I should say it adds much-needed momentum to this particular recruiting class when a lot of the headlines were who wasn't coming here from the state of Minnesota. A couple of top-ranked kids were going elsewhere. This is a late bloomer guy that Ben Johnson was kind of front and center for the last couple of years and did a really good job recruiting him. That he's got a high school teammate, a guy he knows from California that's also part of the program. So I'm fine if you want to start bringing in top 20 kids from California. Let's do that. Much needed momentum and a good shot in the arm for this class. And
he's more than anything else considered a great shot blocker, which fascinates me in the more modern game, right? Because it almost feels old school. But I have to believe there's still a place for a guy who can alter shots.
Especially in the Big Ten. Big Ten, there's still some
centers
centers in this league.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like the league of centers, and now the U has one.
Well, the MLB playoffs are in full swing. The Yankees facing the Astros and the Padres and the Phillies. So any predictions how this is going to go?
Man.
Predictions, no. It's worth noting the number of heavyweight teams that are out.
Yeah.
Obviously, including the 111-win Los Angeles Dodgers. Yankees were taken to the brink.
Yes, they were.
By the team that beat us in the division, the Cleveland Guardians. And I like baseball for this aspect of it, that it's not automatic, despite what we've heard, that the best teams always have to win. That's the excuse given for why the Twins have lost 18 straight postseason games. So that part of it, I think, is what makes baseball kind of fun this time of year.
Well, we have lost 4 straight Emmys. The Twins still have us by 14 straight contests,
Think about
right,
it.
in the postseason, going all the way back to 04. Yeah, and I like the fact that pitchers are actually throwing into the 7th and 8th inning. That's a novel concept that we don't see. And are ready to go the next day if their skipper needs them.
Well, they got #1 starters, which is something we've not been familiar with probably since that losing streak began.
Good point. Good point.
Enough said. NFL owners meeting this week, and it's safe to say there's some drama. First, an apparent heated exchange between Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft over contract negotiations with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, and at least one owner has signaled they're willing to vote in favor of removing Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder.
What's funny, Dan, is we always talk about, people don't like hearing about rich people problems and rich people arguing about
when they air
things.
their dirty laundry.
But I kind of like this. I got to say, I kind of like it. I certainly agree with whoever would like Daniel Snyder out of the NFL. I mean, what a disaster that has been. Just an awful guy on a million different levels. It's an embarrassment in a franchise, so I get it. Not that every NFL owner is clean, obviously. No. We know they've all got their things, but I kind of like that some of this stuff is getting leaked. It's fun to see the rich people mad.
The juicy part is that Snyder denies it, but the word on the street is he's saying, you want to bring me down? I know where all the skeletons are buried.
Right.
That, too, would be quite juicy, because I think there's a chance he probably does know a thing or two, because these guys aren't, the fan has learned.
Enough said has learned.
Enough said has learned. They ain't all clean, probably.
Well, you might notice some changes during your next visit to Mall of America. They're testing out security measures after several incidents that involve guns, so you'll see metal detectors, and they could check your bag, too.
I'm trying to get a handle on, they're just using it at a couple of entrances, right, to see how it goes?
Just one.
Correct.
And because there's, I think of all the entrances to the Mall of America, is it even practical to do it all the way around? Because otherwise it doesn't really matter to have one, right? What is that really going to serve in terms of safety purposes?
Well, that's it. I mean, if it's just the one and you want to do something, where do you go? Another
ain't
entrance?
going to go to that one, I don't
No,
think.
but we've talked about it. We are in a metal detector society now. I mean, it's only a matter of time. And
lots of schools included, right?
Yes, exactly right.
Really quick. It's starting to look like winter in some places. 2 ski hills opening up. We got Wild Mountain and Trollhagen. So is it too soon? What do you think?
Yes, it's too soon. What are you talking about?
It's always too soon.
Why are you even showing us this?
Is this real footage from the last week? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
I hope this is January somewhere.
No, too soon to talk about winter sports. Come on, man. It's not even November.
Now, you and I disagree. Like Christmas, you always want snow. I say no. I'm fine with no snow for the rest of my life. But